The Toyota Crown Signia is a new crossover SUV for the 2025 model year, and it starts with a simple enough formula. Start with the new for 2023 Crown sedan platform and the base powertrain, add a little bit of ground clearance and a bit of cargo space. It looks sharp, but how useful is the space? Let's take a closer look. This is a 2025 Toyota Crown Signia Limited. Looking at the front of the car, to be honest, to me it looks a little bit more Toyota Camry than Toyota Crown, but I would consider that a compliment. I really like the way that Toyota redesigned the new for 2025 Toyota Camry, and I think that this has just a really similar look. You've got these long thin beam daytime running lights right here, and then main beams down low. I do like this interesting, like you have an actual grille opening here, but then it almost fades into the bodywork, into the front bumper, because you have openings, and then we still have the design, but there's no opening there, no gap, and then there's fewer. Then when you get to the lower grille, then you have another opening here. Then you do have a pretty darn pronounced lower front spoiler right here in this gloss black. I find that to be really interesting. You do have some sensors up front, but they're not too obvious. This is a little bit more obvious, this block right here, but we do have a nice and tastefully sized Toyota emblem right there. Happy to see that. And again, I think the curves of the front fenders and into the hood work pretty well with the design. We have this really interesting sharp crease that comes straight down here, very vertical right here, gives you this interesting gloss black element right here with this big beam right here. That's an interesting design element. And then this curve, this line that starts in the hood and comes down and gets more pronounced as it gets to the top of the front grille. It all kind of adds to pretty aggressive stance in a lot of ways. Oh, and speaking of all these lights, all the lights on the Crown Signia are LED. All right, there's only one powertrain for the Crown Signia. Let's take a look underneath the hood. And there it is, your 240 horsepower, total system horsepower, 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder hybrid engine. It is transversely mounted or side to side like that, and you have the 2.5 liter engine right here, and then a bunch of hybrid componentry, and beneath that the hybrid transaxle, which is an electronic continuously variable transmission, and 2 electric motors are all part of that transaxle right next to the engine. You have a generator motor and a drive motor all built into that. You have a 3rd electric motor on the rear axle. Every Crown Signia is all-wheel drive. The front axle center line comes up around here towards the back. I see this metal bracket right here, so towards the back of this big orange harness right here, and that means much of the engine is ahead of the front axle center line, and that means much of the transaxle is ahead of the front center line. This is a heavily front biased machine, but we do have a fairly long wheelbase, we do have all-wheel drive, and we do have the hatch and back, so that does help rebalance things a little bit, but still not great. The engine itself makes 188 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque, but the main drive motor, the electric motor, makes a peak 199 pound-feet of torque. So we know that it has more than that, but it has at least 199 pound-feet of torque to work with. This is not a turbocharged engine, so it is relatively simple. We've got our air box right here. The air intake comes in here and then comes around to the air box and then into the intake here on the front side. We also have a big box of fuses right here. Behind the engine, tucked pretty darn low, is your catalytic converter and exhaust manifold, and then off to the side here, not sure if the camera will pick it up or not, but we actually have a lot of space, and then the ABS pump right here. Also, this is interesting, The strut tower is right here, and it's far enough, it's close enough to the sidewall that we do kind of have a built-in front strut tower brace right here. And this is thicker, you know, more structural metal than you'd expect to see ahead of the firewall here. So we kind of sort of have a front strut tower brace right here. That's kind of cool. And finally, windshield washer fluid is on the passenger side up front, really easy to get to right here. Looking at the car in profile, this is giving you a chance to get a good look at the finish line red paint that you see here. It is a $425 optional color. It is one of 3 colors that are an optional extra out of 5 colors in total. But I have to say, one of the standard colors, called Storm Cloud, to me looks pretty good. It's like a gray blue. I like that a lot. But I do also like this finish line red. I think it gives the Crown Signia a bit of pop, if you will. Now, you may have noticed that I used air quotes when I said crossover SUV. That's because, as far as the government's concerned, this is a small station wagon, and frankly, if you look at it, the ground clearance isn't that much, just a little bit more than the Crown sedan, and the total height of it isn't that much. It's less than 4 inches taller than a Crown sedan, but it is standard all-wheel drive. You do have the cargo space, so I don't think it's too much of a foul for Toyota to want to consider this a crossover. And Toyota certainly isn't the only offender of naming something a crossover where the EPA has a different opinion. This being the Limited means that it can have the advanced technology package, which is a $1,865 package that mostly includes advanced driving aids, but it does also include a puddle lamp built into the side view mirror. And obviously you can't see it well during the day. Let me show you what it looks like in the dark. It is a gloss black side view mirror top with more of a matte black bottom and base, and we do also have a turn signal indicator built into it there, as well as that puddle lamp and camera right there. We do have more gloss black. You can see it for the top of the window trim here, as well as the B and the C pillar here, but then we have chrome to make up the base of the window trim right here. It does curl up and get thicker as we go to the back, but then that meets more gloss black again right here to meet this element here for the rear windshield and the roof mounted spoiler. Then we have a almost chrome, but I'm going to say polished metal roof rail right here, but then yet again more gloss black for the base of the fenders right here, and that runs right across the bottom so that we have more gloss black at the base of the front fenders as well, and then that bakes into the gloss black that makes up the front spoiler lip that we saw earlier. We do have a little bit more gloss black here with this tiny little aerodynamic element built into the base of the front door here, which is interesting to see. I talked to Toyota about this. These do have aerodynamic effects. They're obviously not huge, but they are more than nothing. Another interesting element for this car comes straight down here to the base of the glass and then gets wider by a good 3 or 4 inches before it comes down again. And then we do have some sculpting into the doors a little bit, and then some more lines and details and texture as you get to the base. But this is pronounced, this little flare out here, which you can see at the door. I will go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen for you to check out, and just for fun, because we talked about it, I will add the ground clearance as well and let you know that I have a lot more information in the description. The base wheel on a Toyota Crown Signia XLE is a 19-inch wheel, but the Limiteds come with these 21-inch wheels, and as you can see, does not leave a ton of sidewall left. This is a very aggressive, sporty wheel, and indeed a wheel and tire setup. So yeah, this is a bit on the aggressive side for a vehicle like this. I think in a lot of ways I would prefer the 19, but The wheel on itself does look nice. I like this gray, and I like the spokes and the design built into it. And I like that you've got a lot of exposure to the front brake rotor and those types of things, even though there's not anything specifically awesome about the brakes. Especially with this finish line red, I think this is a real nice contrast to it and really makes the vehicle look nice. And yes, this is a Toyota crossover SUV. The wheels and tires in back are the same size as the wheels in front. Looking at the Signia from the rear, first thing I notice is these sharp looking taillights that go straight across the full width of the car. That is a nice element, and definitely following the trends of today, full width taillights is becoming a thing. We do have a fairly pronounced roof mounted rear spoiler here. This is more than I would like to see, but I am happy to see that this is a fairly vertical rear windshield. There is a bit of rake, but it's not super steep that way, which will help maximize cargo space inside. I am happy that Toyota stayed pretty tasteful in terms of badging size. Nice, almost small looking Toyota logo right there, right above the crown, and then letting you know that it is an all-wheel drive hybrid, and in fact, this one is a limited. Down low, we do get a gloss black bumper, which is a little bit on the visually loud side, but fits the rest of the car, so it's no big deal. And we actually have dual exhaust tips, but they are tucked down low, out of the way, just as they should be. No problem at all. All right, let's check out cargo space. You are looking at 25 cubic feet of cargo space behind the second row. We also have this nice privacy panel right here, and this is the cargo mat, which is part of the floor mats and cargo mat that are a $319 accessory for the Crown Signia. And beneath that, we do have a tiny touch of space right here, right in front of the bumper. Beneath that, we do have a tow hook and a little bit more storage space. I do not see a spare tire of any kind. Yep, this right here is an inflation kit. So no spare tire in the Signia. We do have that tow hook. It does afford you a little bit more space if you want to put something under the floor of the cargo. Also, the actual battery is back here. And if you need more than 25 cubic feet of cargo space, that is easy enough to do. Pull a couple levers. Give a little extra encouragement. And you have 66 cubic feet of cargo space and room for you and a passenger. And I would say plenty of room for my bike, but let's find out. Oh yeah, pretty darn easy in fact. Plenty wide, tall enough, slides right in. Plenty of room for my bike. Let's check out the inside. This being just a two-row SUV, we do have what looks like a healthy amount of legroom down here, and it is reasonably wide as well. And we do have this nice brown real leather interior right here. Leather is standard on the Crown Signia, so that's nice to see. We also have standard heated rear seats for the two outbound passengers here, and then we have this nice two-tone on the door that you can see here. By the way, the limited trim gets an 11-speaker JBL sound system. I am 5 feet 11 inches or 181 centimeters tall, and as you can see, I've got several inches of knee room right here. Seat bottoms are pretty high, not perfect, but pretty high, so I have decent thigh support. And I do have some headroom, not by a lot, but some. I would have more if it weren't for this panoramic roof. This panoramic roof, by the way, is part of being a limited trim. Put all of that together, I also have less than a 90-degree bend in my knees. One nice little detail of the Crown Insignia are these nice little brown metallic finishes that are part of the interior. I think that's a nice touch. We do also have 2 USB Type-C ports. In the back, we have 5 in the car in total. And we do also have an armrest with cup holders. So yeah, it's perfectly comfortable back here. I think 4 adults would do just fine in a road trip. All right, let's go to the front. More of the same in terms of the two-tone color on the door. We do have the typical controls right here, as well as 2-position seat memory right there. We do have a healthy size pocket down low and another big JBL speaker right there. These are 8-way power adjusting seats, including lumbar support, which I always appreciate. We do have a couple of buttons to the left of the steering wheel, the fuel door and the lift gate, and some more stuff a little bit higher. You can also adjust the steering, both tilt and telescope, manually with this guy right there. There are the floor mats portion of the floor and cargo mats that we got as an accessory, and these are $345 illuminated door sills that are hard to see in the daylight, but here, let me show you at night. There's a bit more of that bronze metallic finish right there. I do really like that. The steering wheel itself is a fatter than I expected rim. It's a nice thick rim, a reasonable size diameter, nice design, and good support for grip. We do also have several cruise control options on the right, media control options on the left. We do also have a sensor that seems to be looking back at us to make sure we're paying attention. How about that? We do also have paddle shifters, upshift on the right, downshift on the left, but we don't have any actual gears, so not exactly sure what that's going to be doing for us so much, but hey, it's there. Push button start is right here. And there is your fully digital 12.3-inch instrument cluster. That is standard on the Crown Signia. And there is your 12.3-inch center display, which is also standard on the Crown Signia, and it includes wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. There is your stock, by the way, for the windshield wipers. Because this is a limited Crown Signia, these are rain sensing wipers. Beneath your center display is your dual zone climate control system, and that also includes heated and ventilated front seats for both the driver and passenger. That is standard equipment on the Crown Signia, as is the heated steering wheel. Beneath that is your wireless smartphone charger right there, and it's got this nice little pocket right here, as well as some spring-loaded bits right here, so it really kind of snugs into place. Below that is our button for the 360-degree view cameras. Next to that, we have 2 more USB Type-C ports and 2 pretty darn big and healthy and deep cup holders right there, and the front one has this little pocket slot, so you have an extra little bit of storage to use. There is our Prindle, and you can see it's got a little graphic to show you how it moves here. So it is over and down to get into drive, over and up to get into reverse, 1 touch down to get to neutral, over and down to drive, and then from there, straight down to get into sport mode for the transmission. Below that is our drive mode selector. I'll get to that in just a moment. And then we do also have traction control off. We have an EV mode. If you're going low speed for a little bit of time, you can drive as an EV in the Crown Signia. That is brake hold and our electric parking brake right there. Lower center console storage is right here, and there is a 5th USB port right there, as well as a cigarette plug style 12-volt port right next to it. It is a healthy amount of space. It doesn't go too deep, but it's, you know, a decent size. And then we do also have this sliding surface tray right there. That's helpful. Looking up, you can see we have a couple more JBL speakers hanging out on the A-pillars. We also have a $375 dealer accessory dash cam. We also have noise canceling acoustic front windshield and front side door glass. So that helps keep the Crown Signia quiet, and that is all standard. Standard on the Limited is our digital rear view mirror, so it doubles as a screen for a camera back there. Also standard on the Limited is the panoramic glass, which does have this electric privacy panel, which is lovely. All right, let's talk drive modes. We have 4. They are Eco, Normal, Sport, and Custom. And to set Custom, you go to the center display, hit Settings, and you can see that you can adjust the powertrain, the steering, and the air conditioning. The air conditioning, that is whether you want it to use more or less energy. That's to help save a little bit of fuel economy. The steering, that is going to be normal or sport. Do you want lighter or heavier steering? And same with the powertrain. Do you want faster or slower response with your right foot, with your throttle, and how the transmission behaves, those types of things. So there you have it. The 2025 Crown Signia crossover SUV. Because there's only 2 trims of this, the base XLE does come with a lot, but it does also come with a fairly high floor to the price. It is $45,040. At the same time, moving up to the Limited is not that big of a jump. It costs $49,440. My test car does have the advanced technology package, the premium paint, and a few other accessories, so it costs $53,249. Technically, this is not a crossover SUV, and really, it also doesn't feel like a crossover SUV. Certainly not the S part, the sport part. Yes, you do get all-wheel drive, but you don't get very much ground clearance. You don't get a lot of sidewall. This is not meant to do anything serious when it comes to off-roading. But the UV part, there is a lot of utility in this vehicle. You get a good amount of space, and it looks plenty comfortable for at least 4 adults. If your adventures largely stay on-road, I think this Crown Signia could be super useful. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you very much for watching.